been a short week. You're under the gun, but you're going to have your quarterback, and he's going to have a new target. That's all now against the Texans on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Red Friday as the Chiefs get ready to take on those Houston Texans. Not the last Houston Texans that they played, but those Houston Texans. We're going to run you through it all. We're brought to you today by Hillsdale College. You can get in there right now and get hillsdale.edu/lockedon, and you can enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. Check it out. We are going to run through everything that you need to know for this ball game again on a short week, and then we're going to do it again for the Christmas week. So make sure that you like, sub, hit the bell, because we got you covered all the way through on weird days and other days and all the days in between. Thanks for making us your first listen like you do on this Locked On Podcast Network. Check out another Locked On show for your next one. Make sure you check out the text line at 816-357-8781 and get after it here on X for me at Ryan Tracy NFL or Chris at Chris Clark NFL. He is the owner, operator, writer of KC Chiefs Corner. He's going to give you all the information that you're looking for, the captain, the quarterbacks, and the things that matter. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. You can find me at rgrfootball.com and NFL33.com. Now, can I don't know, probably.
Can you tell me why or how we got to Christmas basically already? Because I don't understand.
Because only the postseason matters. That's it.
We're going into this with like Mahomes, and we're going to be talking about Mahomes, whether or not he's going to play. Obviously, it looks like he's going to play. He's not on the injury report, so I think that is a good sign for that. He's getting Hollywood back. That's a great deal as well. I do think that that's going to be exciting, and I think it is very important for him to get involved this week because maybe there's a scenario where they decide that they don't want to play him against Pittsburgh and do a couple of different things. We can talk about that a little bit if you want.
Yeah, there certainly are a number of scenarios that could be in play here. We're going to give you the X factors in this particular game, as well as our predictions coming up later in the show. We're going to give you the must-win matchups. How do they get this job done? Maybe cleaner than they have as of late. Hopefully more of a score and margin like the Browns without the impact of the Browns. Who knows? We're going to have to play it by ear. But Mahomes is a go. He's on the injury report with no designation whatsoever. That is a sign that he will play. Andy was, Andy's normal kind of, he looks pretty good out there. He's probably going to give it a go. Yeah, okay, so Mahomes is playing. I was panicked, and earlier in the week, my opinion was I don't even want to risk it. So scenario one for me was don't put him out there on a bum wheel. Evidently, he recovered really quickly, and the mild was actually accurate this time. I don't remember the last time we heard a mild high ankle ever. But that has led to this scenario one that he actually gets back on the field.
Does he have like rubber bands for ankles where everybody else is just stuff that breaks? Because it's ridiculous how he seems to heal, and I'm very happy about it. Don't get me wrong. So I want to be clear on that. But you look at this scenario, and it's really interesting because I didn't think that maybe he would play this week. And then if he didn't play this week, then it would be a question whether or not he plays against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But since we're talking about this and we're going to be short week anyway, let's just talk about it real quick.
Yeah.
Scenario is they win this week. They're basically one game away from clinching the number one seed and Buffalo can't do anything about it. So the question becomes, do they actually play people against Pittsburgh, or do they say we're going to play the backups against Pittsburgh and we're going to figure that we're going to give everybody else almost 2 weeks off, or basically 2 weeks off, and then get to a point where you have to beat Denver to be the number one seed and have another chance at a bye week after that, which basically gives yourself almost, 3 weeks off in a month.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I can't buy into that. I like the concept, but unless the Bills lose this weekend, you actually have the one seed. Once it's secured, sure, put everybody on ice, let them rest up, use the, I don't know if you saw Patrick's gifts to the offensive line, but it had been included pressure pants that push the blood back up into your core, and it's great for recovery, right? Just put your pressure pants on, take a nap. It's going to be great. Like, get off the field. But until it's secured, I don't know that I would take a week off, even against the Steelers, even though they have fallen a game behind the Bills as well. just because you don't want it to come down to that defense in Denver coming after you when you have to secure the 1 seed.
And I get that. I guess I would prefer to play Denver with Mahomes that's been off his ankle for almost 2 weeks and likely having DJ Humphries back. And obviously we'll have to see how they would get through that game. But if they would have a healthy offensive line, I'd feel a lot better about that versus a guy like Joe Thuney. Right now, with looking at the injuries, Humphries is out this week. The chances of him actually being available for the Steelers game with him being out this week, I would say are pretty much 0. So you're likely going to be having whoever starts this week. And if that's going to be Thuney is your left tackle against the Steelers again. And I don't think that that's a great scenario either. So for me, Mahomes playing this week is go win this game and then make a decision as how you're going to do. And the Bills have a cake schedule the last 3 games playing the Jets and the
Patriots next.
Patriots twice. So
twice,
so we'll see how that goes. But Hollywood being back is a huge story. And the reason I think that the whole reason I brought up the fact early on that I think it's huge for him to play is because of their scenario. If they decide they don't want to play people against the Steelers, this gives Hollywood a week to step in, get 15 to 20 snaps, get him on the field, get him some action, get him. Unfortunately, it's the reality of the NFL. Get him hit a couple times because that's going to happen, and try to get him ready to go, and not necessarily expect that he's going to start this week, but maybe he can start against the Broncos in a couple of weeks and get 30, 40 to 50% of the snaps, and ease into it, and then be fully ready by the time they have to play their first playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, you think that's the ideal scenario, so. Good for him for getting back. We'll see how long they're on the field. If they get up 10, 14 points, let me put it this way. If they get to 14-point lead, you need to pull both of them off the field as far as I'm concerned. Because at that point, that's fair. Just to let it rest. Because this is not 2023 CJ Stroud, okay? Yes, this is still a dangerous – I thought it was a little bit laughable. Some of the things that the Chiefs staff had to say. And the Chiefs players had to say about the Texans. They're not as formidable as they were, but they still have to be dealt with. And you can't take any chances of getting them hit. So who has to win their matchups? It's all over the place. It starts with one particular spot. We're going to get there coming up next. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Game Time app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that $50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at Prize Picks. It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back. And with a newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the CFP begins December 21st. Starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading to our first matchup. The Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. Lot going on. Check it all out at KC Chiefs Corner and RGR Football as well as NFL33.com. And get on that text line. For you locals, our everyday listeners, we know that's where you hang out. It's at 816-357-8781. Must-win matchups. As you mentioned, DJ Humphries not playing in this ball game. I have to think with the success against one Myles Garrett last week, the plan is likely the same for Joe Thuney to get out there, play left tackle, Caliendo in at left guard. I can't argue with it. Is it my preference? Probably not. they will face a pair that is pretty stacked. Will Anderson is really making a second season for himself. Had 3 pressures last week, did get home and got the sack. Same thing for Danielle Hunter on the other side, 4 pressures for him, did get the sack. They're going to alternate and just go at Joe Thuney all day long. And I think Joe can hold up for the most part. Like he did last week, he just has to keep his body between Mahomes and the guys coming after him. This is a little bit different, though. A little bit more speed, a little bit less power. I think that might actually play against Joe right now, but this is one that they have to win to keep Patrick alive.
Yeah, and that's a huge ask. And I think the other thing that last week gave is you have Wanya Morris didn't play. And while he didn't play, like he may have gotten some special team snaps, I'm sure he did, but he didn't get out there. He wasn't the left tackle. And the bigger thing for me on that is I don't think he's been healthy the entire season. I think that bone bruise has been bothering him. So this is a scenario where maybe you can get to, I don't expect that anything is going to change between the Saturday game and by the time they play on Christmas Day. So you're likely looking at a scenario where Joe Thuney is probably going to be your starter at left tackle for the next 2 games as well. And then you're in a scenario where you end up going against Denver. And if Humphrey still can't come back, which I kind of have a hard time believing with it being a hamstring issue, but possible, if he can't come back, then maybe you do put Wanya Morris back out there. So, but I agree with you completely. When you're talking about Thuney, this is a matchup he has to win. He has to be a guy that can stay in between whoever he is going against, whether it's Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter and Patrick Mahomes. And I don't care if he gets hurries, if he allows hurries. It's don't allow the hits, don't allow a ton of hits, and don't allow the sacks. If you can get it to where he's at least able to get the ball away, even if he has to be rushed a little bit to do it, that's fine. Just make sure you're staying between whoever you're going up against and Patrick Mahomes. And if they can do that, I think they're going to be in good shape. The other thing when you start looking at this game is Chris Jones is likely going to eat. He's going to have, I don't know exactly where he's going to eat, but he is going to eat because they have a lot of injuries on this interior offensive line for the Texans. It was actually kind of funny. He was talking about it yesterday on the crossover with Big Sarge, and one of the things we talked about was how their interior line has been horrible, but their tackles have been good, whereas the reverse for Kansas City. And I'm like, well, if you could just kind of mix and match those offensive lines, you'd be pretty good. So if Jones can, take over this game, one of the things that also comes into this play is CJ Stroud has been horrible against the blitz this year. I think he's ranked around 30th in the NFL against the blitz. Steve Spagnuolo is going to take advantage of that. And when you talk about matchups, Chris Jones is going to be part of that blitz package. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, what they're going to do specifically, but Steve Spagnuolo is going to use Jones and use all the different pieces he has to get pressure on the Texans quarterback.
Yeah, and they have to, because the Texans' passing game is solid. It's not as formidable as Chris Jones himself made it sound earlier this week about how excellent this receiving core is. But
don't you think that they've learned their lesson, though? Like, go back to the Justin Reed Bengals thing a couple years ago where he said something. I think the Chiefs have just learned they don't really care. They're not going to give teams extra bulletin board material to get fired up for the game. And I think that's what this is they're going to say that it's a good team regardless of whether or not they're a good team. And the Texans are a good team. They're just not. I don't think they're on the same level.
Yeah, I would agree. As far as who has to do that on the opposite side to keep pace, keep the offense out front, it comes down to this. There's one cover guy on this team that you need to be aware of. Derek Stingley had a great game last week. I think he only, 17 yards on 4 catches, 50% completion rate. He's playing well. For me, that's depending on how you choose to align. I don't think they're going to travel him because I don't think they have a partner that you can really rely on. While I like Kamari Lassiter, the other outside corner, he's not playing as well. And so it's Hop on Stingley as far as I'm concerned in a game that maybe Hop still cares about. I don't know. There's always probably some motivation in there. And attacking everybody else. I mean, from the right corner, Kuda got in a little bit. You have Lassiter. You do have guys at both safety spots. Old Eric Murray used to be in Kansas City. Galen Bullock, I do think they're both susceptible. You can attack with this pass game. If the protection holds up, it comes down to me, to Hollywood and Travis taking the first advantage, Juju mopping up, and then whatever you get out of Hollywood Brown is gravy as far as I'm concerned. And that gravy might just include a touchdown.
I would imagine it's going to include a touchdown. It's going to be really curious to see what they do with him. Do they kind of go and give him the role that we envisioned Xavier Worthy having earlier this season? And I say that because one of the things that would do is give you a vet that is running deep routes that maybe they can try to get Mahomes and him on the same page this game or in the next couple of weeks before the playoffs happen. And I think that could be really beneficial. And then you let Xavier Worthy continue doing what he's doing because his role has expanded so much. It is beneficial for this team for him to continue to grow into what he's been doing and continue to get better doing that. I'm not saying that he should be a replacement for Hollywood, obviously, but Hollywood's not going to be ready this week. And he's probably not going to be fully ready until the third week of January. I mean, how long do you think it's going to take for him to get up to speed? So to me, this is a great situation. Use Hollywood Brown in specific situations, get him on some deep routes, try to use his speed there, try to get him open and open things up. Use Worthy as you have been. You can use him still deep, but use him on some of the underneath stuff and continue to get him going, because when the playoffs hit, both of those guys being on the field at the same time is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it certainly is. In every step you take forward together, you take forward and make January that much easier. Now, that's the standard progress. You got to have all your weapons out there, but there are guys that can stand out. They're called X factors. We're going to tell you who they are coming up next. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, and that's right, free online courses right now, including Introduction to Free Market Economics. You can check out some history with the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, and even check out The Great American Story, A Land of Hope. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever you want, you can tune in whenever you want, and you can finish whenever you want. You can go deeper with readings and quizzes and discussions, or just sit back and enjoy the lectures. Go over to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. It's at hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Now, as you know, this is a non-standard process here. Chiefs are playing on Saturday. We're going to have live post game for you like we always do. They're playing on Christmas Day. We will have content for you post game there as well. Maybe a little bit abbreviated, but come spend your Christmas with us. Make sure to do that you are liked and you are subbed and you are part of this channel here. One of the locos, we would appreciate it. Now, there's always standouts, and everybody matches up with different teams individually. And there's always those teams that give you a little bit of trouble in this area or in that area. And this team in particular, I think there's one guy you got to watch out for. If you're the Texans in particular, and it is Pops, you can protect Mahomes by running the ball a little bit more. I think he's starting to really get into his stride where he's loose again, right? Yes, he's been playing well, but I do think that there is still yet more upside for him as he gets into the rhythm. There's really only one defender that is playing super good on the run stopping side, and that's a Chase will linebacker in Christian Harris. So for me, when you take a look at their run defense, you have to be able to get on the inside in the A gaps and run down their throats, and I think that helps everybody. I think it's more on Pops than it is on Kareem Hunt, but the run game itself is going to be an X factor.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because it's funny. You mentioned Christian Harris. He is questionable for this game with an ankle injury. He did not practice on Thursday, so something to watch there. But even if he does play, that means that he's not going to be 100% or anywhere close to what you would call 100% for football season, which is never really even 100% for anybody. But you talk about the run game for the Chiefs. I think the other X factor is going to be the run game for the Texans, because Joe Mixon is a guy that is going to be somebody that can give you trouble. And if you don't stay sound to your defensive principles and don't stay in your lanes and don't, rally to the ball and tackle right, he will hit a cutback and it's going to hurt. You have to stay very disciplined against a back like Joe Mixon. And the other thing, the reason that this is an X factor to me is because we know that CJ Stroud has struggled a little bit this year compared to what he was doing last year. they have a lot of good weapons when you start talking about, Nico Collins, obviously, and Tank Dell and all those guys. I get that they have a good receiving core, but if they can't run the ball and the Chiefs have to just sit back and try to defend the pass, I think that they would feel pretty good about that. And the Chiefs defense has been very good at stopping the run. So it's the question of, can you get them into situations where they're only getting a yard or two on first and second down running the ball, and then you get them into 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, those types of scenarios in the passing game, which completely changes how you want to attack a defense. So to me, I think the running game could be an X factor on both sides.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And so how do you combat that? Well, you get better play out of your defensive tackles and out of your middle linebacker. And you can't argue anything in the run game with Nick Bolton. He's been on fire. He's been there all year long. I think Drew Tranquil is coming on. They've been saving. It feels like they've been limiting Leo Chanel's snaps for some reason, knowing how this is going to go. I do think they can play more base, and I do think he'll be out there more.
Can we see him on the offensive side again?
I would love that.
I know that was an early season thing. And now you have so many other guys, but I would love to see him out there in a goal line situation. And I'm not saying he has to get the ball, but put him out there again, because guy's a beast, and
he wrecks stuff.
He is. Yeah. Oh, he does. Yeah, absolutely. So,
and I will tell you this: I think they did it early in the season, because I think we'll see it in January.
So you think they're saving it?
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's talk about that for just a second. I know we're talking X factors. We'll get into predictions here in just a moment. But how much do you think that plays into this game? Because the reality is go look at the standings in the playoffs. I know we're talking Texans, but the reality is for this week on the Christmas game and the Broncos, I think they're facing the number 3 team, the number 5 team, and the number 6 team in the AFC right now. So the last 3 games you're going to play are going to be against teams that you could see in the playoffs again. How much do you think that changes what they look at trying to do, and how much they actually hold back in these next 3 games?
I think it is much like we've seen all season long, just the bare minimum. What they feel they can exploit, they will hammer on. I think to the point of what's been bothering me this season is to the neglect of being versatile should they get something they're not used to seeing. I think they will be a little bit over-focused. They'll take advantage of it. I think in this particular matchup, I think it works. I don't think, despite the D'Amico Ryans and his defense that has been solid, I won't say spectacular, but pretty solid. I don't think that they have the wherewithal to overtake it. So I don't think that the offense particularly has to go outside of its bounds. It's more about executing with the players it has, warming up the players that it needs in Tooney and Hollywood in particular, and really just getting out there, staying calm and executing. And that really, for me, comes down to probably the X factor on offense the most. And that is between Patrick Mahomes' ears. His foot's going to be limited. I actually feel that he dials in and focuses better when he is limited physically. So it's up to him to make the decisions to pull the trigger.
And pull the trigger in the right places and to the right places.
And quickly. Quick game, delivering the ball more efficiently. It's about him and his decision-making process at this point.
Well, and I mean, he talked about it, and I don't remember what day it was that he talked about it, but he said, the specific play going deep to Justin Watson, I think we talked about it on the show already, that Justin Watson play, Xavier Worthy was wide open. And I don't know if he saw him at the time or if I know he saw him in film review, but did he see him at the time? That's the question. And I don't know if he specifically stated that. But the reality is that there's been so many of those types of plays that he has left on the field this season because he's trying to do more than he has to. And I get it to an extent, because go back and look, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, go back to where they had this Texans team, the game that everybody remembers against the Texans. That was a different Mahomes. That was a different team. That was a different time. And then he wants to get back to that offense. You don't have to get back to that offense. Just do enough to win, get to the playoffs, and then maybe you can start seeing some of that stuff, because the reality is that some of it has still been there. It's just a question of the Chiefs not really running it, like you said. And what are they not showing? What haven't they shown all season? And how crazy is it that if you go back to the beginning of the season and you look at the very end of the year, to think that they'd be playing 3 of the top 7 teams in the AFC in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, we thought the first half of the season was going to be the troublesome part, right?
Right. Yeah, and now you're in a situation where you're facing 3, 5, and 6, and obviously that could change before the playoffs happen, and I'm sure it will. But the reality is that you're going to likely face one of these teams if you go far in the playoffs again. So you have to probably hold back a little bit, and you have to realize that you can't put everything out there, and you can't attack them with everything that you want. Yes, you need to go get the win, but just do enough just to get the win, which is what we've seen this entire season, which has pissed everybody off and made them feel like Andy Reid has lost it. He hasn't lost it. They're just
holding on to it.
Right. Because look at how it's worked out the last couple of years. Like, go back to the Miami game last year in the playoffs. He held on to it, and then they just blew the doors off the Dolphins in the playoffs.
Yep. Let's hope for 7 degrees every game. I'm ready. I know they are too. But I don't think it's going to be 7 in this particular ball game. What do you see happening?
No, I think this is a game where I said all that about they're going to hold on to stuff, but I do think that Andy needs to be a little judicious with it. And what I mean by that is go back to what you had in your playbook for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 with Hollywood Brown and bring some of that stuff out. I don't care that nobody's seen it and that you're going to put it on film. He needs to get into this offense, and you need to start using what he brings to this offense in this offense. And now you have another guy in DeAndre Hopkins that you're going to be putting him with, plus Xavier Worthy, plus Juju Smith-Schuster. This receiving core has its abilities. Take advantage of that. To me, I agree with what you said earlier, and I didn't really comment on your Derek Stingley comments. I completely agree with you. He is their guy that you have to watch out for. But I also think that he can be beat at times. He's not perfect. I mean, all players can get beat. He's not Darrelle Revis. And I said that on the crossover, but he is Darrelle Revis-like in some regards. He can take away half the field at times. It's not near the same level as what Revis was. So to me, it's a matter of you got to go out there. You just got to go run the ball, try to put up, 20. I keep saying 27 points. I can't see Kansas City putting up 27 points this week. I don't think they've done it most of the season. So I don't know why I keep going back to that well. It's just the reality is they don't seem to be doing that. And this is a good Texans defense. So to me, I think that they win this game. Mahomes is going to be locked in because I do agree with you 100%. I think he's better when he's injured. And I don't know that it's necessarily, which seems like a crazy statement to make, but I do think that it's more of a focus thing than anything else, because he realizes he has to be that dialed in each and every play because he can't physically do some of the things that he can normally do. So to me,
it's emergency break, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 24-21. I hate saying that because it's going to be I think it's going to be another close game. And I hate that just because I'm tired of these. I know that's what we're going to get the rest of the season and we're going to get in the playoffs, but I wish they just blow the doors off of the Texans. I wish they get up 3 scores and maybe able to sit some people in the second half. I don't expect that to happen, but we can hope.
Wish for it, right? I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns score and game management as my excuse to say what I want to say and what I want to see happen. So when you take a look at what they have here, I do think they have to get the pass game running. They have to use the run game. It's got to be balanced. And allowing Patrick to be judicious there, deliver the ball, and get it out, I do think it allows you to play into Hollywood. And this game, this matchup is better than the next week. Next week, not even next week, good Lord, 4 days later, Christmas Day, you have Cooper DeJean, you have Darius Slay, you have Quinton Mitchell. You have a trio of cornerbacks that you have to worry about. So if you're going to iron things out, I think it's got to be this week. And I do think they get a little pass happy for Andy. As long as they have the timing and the ball is out on time, they'll be okay with that. I do think that 3-step drops, even 5-step drops, they can probably still be all right, but they just got to be succinct with it. In the end, I think they do go over. I think in the end, they play better than they've played all season. I think they get Hollywood a little bit of action. I think they're able to open a couple of things up. I'm going 27-17 Chiefs. Maybe not as close as that in the third quarter.
I'd love it. I don't see it. The way they played all season, I just can't see it being different in this one. But I would love to be wrong. Absolutely love to be wrong.
Well, I hope the O-line in particular is listening. So thanks, guys. Let's make that happen. Folks, let us know what you think. Put your predictions down below here in the YouTube comments. We would very much appreciate that. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell. Get ready for this ball game. Post-game live will be here. Definitely get ready because we're going to have a short week and a lot of content for you before Christmas Day and the game against the Steelers. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for doing all that you do and being our everydayers. We love you guys, and we couldn't do it without you. And we're going to keep grinding this out all regular season into the playoffs and beyond. Thank you for being with us today. We'll talk to you live post-game.